Hello, everybody, and welcome to Metaphysical Insights. I am your host, William Becker, and I have the one and only Paranormal Pete with me this afternoon. And write in, if you type in the comments, I have the magic power. I can make them show up. And so if you have questions, we can see if we can answer them. And Pete, hello, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, William.
Oh, you're welcome. It's always a pleasure. It's the only time I get a chance to talk to you.
I know. So busy.
Yeah. And, well, I don't. Pete is the boss of a company town. It's kind of weird. We live in a democracy. I'm not giving. This is not a political program. I'm not going there. People, when I say that, I'm just saying it's real interesting because we have these company towns yet that are still owned by a corporation, old logging towns mostly, and they have town managers that work for the company. There's no election. And that's the case with Port Gamble, where Pete is the boss. And he doesn't even run around with a scepter and a crown and royal
No,
robes. I'm impressed.
no way. I live here just like everybody else does.
Yep. Well, Pete, I you know how I do things, I bounce around a lot. But you've got something really exciting coming up that I'm going to be participating in. And why don't we talk about that a little bit first?
Sure.
And we've got Irene out there that's sharing this too. So hopefully she will get a few more people on here soon too.
Right on. Well, yeah, we've got the Port Gamble Coast Conference coming up November 10th through 12th. And it's our 14th annual.
Okay.
I think it's the longest running conference on the West Coast. And you've been coming there for quite some time. And you're going to be speaking and teaching this year.
Yep.
And for anybody that's interested in going, go to portgamble.com. And then there's an events tab, and you can get to the webpage there. Or look us up on Facebook, Port Gamble Ghost Conference. Yep.
And it's good to look all that, you know, to look at that page too, because there's so much else that's going on. Pete does tours. You get all kinds of things going on with um, Port Gamble, and so it's good to have you around.
Yeah.
So
I saw you pop up a comment from Jason Hassler there.
yeah, what did it say? Okay,
He's going to be co-emceeing the conference with me this year.
fantastic.
So
Jason's a good guy.
Yeah, he's going to be introducing speakers and kind of keeping it moving in one of the two venues we're using.
Okay, so if he's doing the introductions, I better behave myself with him.
Well, I'll be doing yours, I think.
Okay, then I've got to be nice to you.
Yeah, so looking forward to having you and Jason and his team and Olympic Peninsula Paranormal Society is going to be helping out. Yeah, so what are you going to be talking about? Let's talk about that.
Oh, geez, I have to look at my notes again. First of all, Roger, thank you. I'm sorry about the little bit of an echo. We were late getting on a couple of minutes because we were trying to fix that and we couldn't. So it's probably the cheap technology someplace at my end. So,
it's the internet goblins.
Yeah, exactly. And I can see Mary Bethune laughing. So, oh no, she said hola. Hi, Mary.
Hola.
So, I thought she was laughing at us because of my tech skills, or lack thereof. But
That's how
yeah,
I roll.
I didn't. I do have to. I'm at a blank right now. I think I'm talking about mediumship and travel and history,
Yes, a
and
medium's
reading the
view.
history in these locations.
It's the mediumship and ancient beings. So
Right.
you're talking about that. So you'd like to take people back into history
Right.
because that's where you go, right?
That is where I go. And oh, Jason's a kick.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah. But that's part of what is important to me, actually, is to help people explore the world around them. And I'm happiest when I'm standing around an 8,000-year-old temple or 10 or whatever, and seeing who wants to hang out with me.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, it's so interesting when you can peel back the layers, right?
it is.
And start to see through time and history.
And that's something that we can do anywhere. I mean, look at the history of the town you're in. And you've
Right.
got the foresters and the pioneers, settlers, but then you've also got all the Native American before that,
Right.
as well as all of the non-human beings running around that town.
Yes.
We
Which I
might as well
still,
just get weird right from the beginning, you
yeah,
know.
which I know you've sensed, and I haven't sensed any of that here yet, but I'm just might not be attuned to that energy. You know what I mean? Like I just don't pick it up.
Could be. But I believe that's part of what I'm going to be teaching. I have to look at those notes too.
Yeah,
It's not that I'm not prepared, Pete. It's just that I've been focusing about today instead of,
yeah. I get it. I totally get it. So your class is about accessing the Akashic record and other realms.
right. And with that, we will also include some of the other beings that are around because they're in and out of those other realms. So, um, yeah, now I'm embarrassed. I've got Pete probably thinking that I don't have a clue what I'm going to do when I get up there.
No, because I
But
know what you're talking about when you're talking about this stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So what other? I know this is your show, but I'm going to ask you: what do you like? What do you consider as other realms?
that's a good question. And other realms tend to be mostly that I've gone to so far and explored. Where we go with the beings that are considered mythical
Hmm.
often are,
Okay.
because I've seen these beings up close and personal, including in Port Gamble, with my own two eyes. But they're not in our world all the time. They're in and out. And that's my understanding. That's what I pick up from them. Um, so that's all I can say is what I understand. And so other realms mostly have to deal with that. I think there are probably other dimensions, other universes, but I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you. Um, there seems to be more validation of these possibilities with string theory and quantum mechanics,
Right.
but those are not, I've got some nice degrees, but none of them are in that field.
Right.
Um, so I I I can't say for sure, but we can go to these places in a metaphysical sense, and it's kind of like astral projection, but not really. Um, and there's usually somebody there that can greet us, and we talk to. And part of the reason we go to the Akashic record first is to have the guides there give you some assistance, but also direct you to a place that it's good for you to go at the time.
Right. And take in whatever information is what you're supposed to have
Exactly.
at the time.
And also make sure you behave appropriately. And I mean,
Don't go running through the library and knocking books off the shelves.
no, that's not a good idea. And don't just, you know, drop into the middle of an elven banquet without having some respect or, you know,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, you don't want. Logos or whatever is named from the Lord of the Rings to fire an arrow or something.
Right. That Legolas. Yeah, I like that series.
I read the books. I really liked the books. I saw one of the movies. No, I think I saw two of them, but I like the books better.
I've read a couple of the books. Yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah, and but what else is going on at the conference this year? And
oh man, we got so much going on. So this year, we've typically had one venue for the conference, but this year we've got two. So we're going to be in the historic theater, and then most of the featured speaking presentations are at the Hood Canal Vista Pavilion. Excuse me.
okay,
So there's a lot of classes going on, a lot of speakers. There's more panels this year. We just try to keep a nice flow between both venues. Sorry, that echo's really getting it's really getting to me.
I'm so sorry, and I don't hear it at all. And when you're closer to the mic, I hear you better. But
Okay.
I don't know what it does to the echo for you. Sorry, folks.
Yeah, it's weird.
Well, in my house, who knows what
check.
the ghosts are doing?
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Okay. Well, there's a lot going on. I'll just say that for the conference, and it's all at portgamble.com.
Yeah. Get your hotel reservations. I got mine a week or two ago.
Yep, most people stay in Paulsbo. It's about 12 minutes away.
Yep. And yeah, there's some nice places there. A great Indian restaurant right by where I stay. At least it was there last year and the year before.
It's still there.
Okay, good.
You know, when the first time I came to the Oregon Ghost Conference, when it was in Oregon City, there was that little burrito place that was near the venue. It's like a little hole in the wall restaurant, but man, that was so good.
You know, I forget about that place. I really need to go back there because it is good. And it's not expensive.
Right, very good.
Mm-hmm. So we'll turn this into a culinary show. Metaphysical cooking.
Yeah, there you go.
Cooking with ghosts.
I wonder if anybody's ever, come up with a recipe while communicating with one of their guides. You know, they psychically come up with the recipe.
I think you're giving me. I think we have a project. Like you need another one.
That would be interesting.
I think it would be. Yeah. We'll find some free time during the conference. Yeah, right. And sit down and discuss this further.
Yeah, right.
Now, what are the dates?
November 10th through the 12th.
Okay. And, you know, people, I really encourage you to go. One of the things, every conference is different. And I don't like to compare them or say one's better or another or something, partly for lots of reasons. But this is one where I find you have an audience that's more focused on the conference and what's going on. Some of the other ones, you get a lot of people in and out. It's busy times, resort areas or whatever, and it's all great, but they're also spread out so much. You don't have many people in the audience because there's so many places, and they're hanging out at the beach half the time or whatever. And
that's fun too, though.
Pardon me?
That's fun too, though.
Oh yeah, it is. But you know, when you're on stage speaking, it's nice to have somebody there to talk to. And then they seem more interested and they ask questions, and a lot of new people, and the people I meet there and the ones I talk to are really outstanding. A lot of repeats, but also a lot of new people. And so it's more than just a good time. You really get a chance to learn. I don't know everybody that comes, but I know the quality of the speakers and classes that I've had any experience with are really good. and I trust Pete to do a good job. He knows what he's doing.
Some of the time.
Shh, we won't tell about the time the boiler blew up and took the roof off of the.
Oh man, don't say that. Knock on wood. Knock on wood.
Yeah, but so I really encourage you to come.
Yeah, there's a lot of new people coming this year. I can tell already. So that's great. More people to meet this, I don't know, really good part of the paranormal field in the world.
Yeah,
You know, the community of the Pacific Northwest. It's something special out here, and so it's cool to bring people together in that sense.
yeah. Dress for the weather.
It'll be raining.
Most likely.
Beautiful day today, though.
Yeah, here too. But they're up. They're pretty much directly across the sound from Seattle, but you can't get there you can't get there from there unless you're on a ferry.
Right.
It's a bit of a drive, but there are lots of great places to stay. Port Gamble's got 2 or 3 restaurants. Is there something in the place that just closed?
Not yet.
Okay.
There will be.
Okay.
Probably not by the Ghost Conference, but there will be.
Okay. That's great. But there's still a couple of places in town to go and have lunch or dinner.
Yeah, and we're gonna at the Ghost Conference. We're gonna have a kettle corn vendor, so people can get popcorn while they're there. We'll have a coffee vendor and a craft pizza vendor.
Okay, well, I'm good.
It's gonna be good.
Coffee and pizza, and I'm happy.
Yeah.
So Molly wrote Pete and repeat down here.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
That was in response to Jason's comment about Pete is so good we got to hear him twice. So Molly is Pete's wife. So
thanks, Molly.
She's awesome. She really is. So no, Cliff, I don't have a speaker on. I'm using earbuds. So is Pete. So we've tried to work it out.
We both do podcasts and have the equipment for it, and then this happens.
Yeah. So I'm sorry.
I'm going to try one thing. If you want to talk about what you want to talk about next, I'm going to try something.
Okay, sounds good. And part of what I like to work with more is the connections we can make with the broader world around us and the broader universe. And so that's a piece of what I bring into classes and presentations. And I like to hear from people about these things too. I like conversations and discussions about that. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're soft, but I can hear you. I'm probably deaf. Sorry, folks.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Check. Can you hear me? You can hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I can't hear anybody.
You can't hear me? Okay. And I don't know how to sign.
Check.
We'll have to see how good Pete is at lip reading.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I can hear you. It's my end, Cliff. I don't know how it could be, but it could be. I don't hear an echo. I'm plugged in. The light on the side is beeping at me. I don't know if that means anything. But okay. Oh, Mary said the echo was gone for a bit. So I don't know if you can hear me. But anyway, what are some questions for Pete when he gets back on here? Go ahead and type them in. And I apologize again for not being as technically professional and proficient as I'd like to be. But let me try this. I unplugged them and put them back in again. So okay. He looks serious. He may have found the solution. Hi, everybody. Pete will be right back. And I'm sorry about all this. And like I say, I don't understand. And I don't know. My speakers aren't on. Here's from Molly. Oops, let me see if he's... Okay, Pete's rebooting and he'll be here in a second. That might help. And I just rebooted earlier today. I was thinking about something the other day. Do you think that when living people have memories of places and they are like really there in their minds, they would register as paranormal energy to the people that are in that location? Oh, that's a really interesting question, Molly, and a very good one. I know through some experiences that I've been part of with Michael White and a bunch of other people that remote viewing in can have an effect because they heard me and they, when I was tugging on Michael's hair, he felt it and that kind of thing. And, we live 4 hours apart. So it's not like I could have run next door and home again. So I think that's certainly a possibility that they can at least feel that there's somebody around, perhaps. And I wonder, well, that brings up another question then. I wonder if it has anything to do with some of the living people. Okay, let's get Pete back.
Hello?
Hi.
Echo still there. All right.
It is.
Whatever.
I'm going to have to figure out something. I'll have to try some stuff here. Molly's got a good question, and I just started it asking or talking, but you go.
Well, you go ahead.
Well, I was saying, okay, this is what clip. Okay. Well, my microphone's down here. My earbuds are up here. The speaker's not on. So, I don't know. But I'll put this back up there. And I think, I think it could because living people, when I do readings for clients, I read the living sometimes around the people. It's that the energy of, every once in a while I'll be doing a reading and it's like yeah, that's Uncle so and so, and they're very much alive. We had dinner last night. Um, and so I think that there's a piece of our energy that can absolutely, when we're focusing that much on a location or a place, um, be there. How often it happens, I'm not sure. Um, if you were looking at times, if you had consistent um, memories that pop up at times, then and they're not current, those could also be past life locations. A lot of times, those will pop up in our dreams or just in our thoughts, our thinking process, or we're daydreaming, and do we always go to the same place? And there could be lots of reasons for that. Some of them just psychologically where we're comfortable for whatever reason, or there's a historical interest or a safe feeling, which may have to do with our life now. It may have nothing to do with past lives, but it very well could have to do with past lives. And one of the things that's fun traveling around is when you stumble into past lives. That's I've discovered a few of mine that way. When you're looking out and you're looking at somebody digging a causeway 5,000 years ago, you say, "Oh, that's me." Okay, so that's kind of fun. Um, but I don't know, Molly, if that answered it. What do you think, Pete?
That's a great question. Good answer. And I would say yes. Think of it like this, kind of like what you're saying. Well, everywhere we go, we leave bits of our energy, but they may not stay very long.
Right.
Unless it's like she's saying here, you're really there, really putting your energy there, that can last longer. And then therefore other people could pick up that energy in that location. So everywhere we go, we leave a mark.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Molly. I appreciate the question. Now, Pete, tell me a little bit more too about what else you've got going on just with this. You do tours, you're in a band.
Yeah.
You've got a show.
No.
No, the show is, I couldn't remember if it was finished for right now or not, but
That's correct.
okay. I wasn't sure if you'd reached that date or if it was a little bit away, but
yeah,
you had a show.
I had a show. I plan on bringing it back at some point. Just wanted to step away for a while. Supposed to be working on a book. I'm sure Molly will comment.
Mm-hmm.
But I do ghost walk tours, public investigations, and just starting the tourist season last weekend, and I'm sold out all through October.
Fantastic. For you guys that are up there, keep an eye out. Do you have a waiting list?
Not really. People usually just email me if it's sold out.
Okay.
But and if I can get them in, I will. But yeah, the tours go 7 to 10 p.m. and you can find everything at portcampbellparanormal.com.
Yeah, and they're really quite excellent. I've been on them. Now with the conference too.
Mm-hmm.
Tours take me right back to investigations. Take me to the conference.
Mm-hmm.
There will be investigations of some of the locations again.
That is correct.
Great.
Yeah, we'll be investigating the museum, the Masonic Lodge, Walker Ames, the Painted Lady, which is the New York house,
Mm-hmm.
and the church.
How do those work?
Well, you can buy tickets to each time slot that you want to, but you're not signing up for a specific time slot. You're just picking how many investigations you want to do, And then when you get to the conference, we give you tickets. And then you just go show up where you want to at the right time and turn your ticket in.
And are these guided investigations? Are people pretty much on their own?
It's a bit of both. It's kind of what you prefer. We have Olympic Peninsula Paranormal Society and Big River Paranormal that are graciously volunteering to help lead investigations. And so Olympic Peninsula will be at the Walker Ames mostly.
Okay.
But we'll have satellite little teams to go to the other locations along with Big River Paranormal.
Sounds good.
Yeah, they're great teams. If you've never done something like this, they can kind of guide you through it. Or if you've done it a lot, you can kind of go do your own thing.
Great. I wasn't quite sure. I've helped with some of those, and I know what the ones I was doing were like, but I wasn't sure about the rest of them. So
yeah, we usually have great volunteers that are very knowledgeable and experienced and do things in a really great way.
what kinds of evidence has been collected during these, or what kind of experiences?
A lot of personal experiences, quite a bit of audio pieces, I would say. Visual experiences. I don't really know of much video, evidence that's come out of these. There's been photographic evidence captured.
Great.
So you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, exactly. And I know I've had experiences with some of it. One of the more dramatic ones was in the basement of the church. And my friend Devin, who helps me with my booth sometimes and taking pictures for me and different things. He's a photographer. And Vivian Powell, a friend of mine, was in from England, and we were helping with the church tour or investigation, and nobody was there, so we were talking to them. And Vivian's a medium, and Devin's pretty sensitive, and we were down in what's like the parish hall, and Devin and I were sitting on a bench. Vivian was standing a little way off, and there was this loud rustle, like heavy taffeta dresses rustling or something, kind of heavy brocade. You get the feel, you kind of see it just from the sound. And she let out a shriek and leapt up and landed in our laps. It was really funny, but we've had voices, and there's nobody outside, and footsteps there, and all kinds of things.
Yeah,
there.
I've experienced a bit there. Molly caught an EVP taking video with her cell phone in the church.
Okay.
That was kind of fun to discover. Yeah, you just have to have equipment running to collect the data, and you might catch something. It's funny you mentioned the church basement. So many years that I did the weddings in town, with the weddings team, I would be in there by myself a lot, waiting for a tour or waiting to open the church for bride and groom. And I would be in the basement, and you'd hear what sounded like a wooden ball hit the floor above you, because there would be really no bounce.
Right.
And then you'd hear it roll.
Okay.
And so then you go upstairs and you check the sanctuary floor, and there's nothing there. Just the pews.
Right.
That's a pretty common one.
Was the sanctuary ever used as a pool hall?
I don't think so, but that would be funny.
Makes me think of a pool ball launching off the table.
Yeah, very similar.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's like there's no bounce, but it's loud.
Right.
And then it just rolls.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the way I wind up playing pool half the time. What do you
That's
mean I
okay.
have to keep it in the table?
Right. And when I play golf, I call it pasture pool.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that works. But, oh, good.
Yeah, the church
You
is
mentioned
cool.
a book.
Yes.
What would you like to share about that?
Well, it's I got to do it. But I'm basically putting my ghost tour into a book
Okay.
because it'll have a lot of stories along with the history.
Mm-hmm.
And so for those who can't come to the tour, they'd be able to at least learn about the experience that we have here in Port Gamble.
Great. And Pete's quite a good writer, so when this is out, do you have any concept as to when this might be available?
Yesterday. I'm maybe by the end of the year I'll have it done.
I'm impressed.
Well, it's been a long time.
Well, but
I just
you
get too
know,
busy.
it's not like you have a job that's 9 to 5 Monday through Friday,
Right?
and
And beyond.
and a great family, and
Yeah,
you,
we're always got something going on.
you actually spend time with them, so it's
I like
nice.
them.
Yeah, and they seem to like hanging out with you too.
Yeah, it works
So,
out well. Yeah, I hope to have the book done by the end of the year, and then I don't know how long the publishing process takes, all that kind of stuff. So,
okay. Now, do you have a publisher that you're working with, or?
no, I was going to self-publish.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Excellent. A lot of people do really well.
I'm just hoping people like it and find interest in it, and if that goes well, I may do another book more about my journey.
Right. Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because Pete's really a very talented medium.
Didn't know it.
I know. Not until late. He's one of the late ones, though, that is really, really good, and I can recommend, even though he hasn't been doing this that many years.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I always say that it's important to have somebody good that you can talk to when you're going through a psychic awakening. And William, you were kind of my mentor through it all, and talking about what I would experience, try this, try that. Very helpful, but I would say I was very skeptical of mediums and psychics and all the woo-woo when I started doing paranormal research and investigations. And then, as Karen Fraser says, the universal 2x4 hit me in the head.
Right.
And basically changed everything. But I'd often talk about, you were doing a presentation at the Oregon Ghost Conference, and you were doing readings for the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first time that I guess consciously saw something moving around behind you. And it was a figure, and it was a person like in a top hat.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't your shadow that I was seeing, but when you would do a reading, this figure would disperse into a cloud that would be kind of behind you. And then when you were done with the reading, it would come back down into a humanoid shape.
Mm-hmm.
And I was seeing lots of yellow and blue. And I just remember afterwards, I was going to go tell you, and I overheard you talking to somebody else, and they were describing everything I just saw. And that made my stomach sink. That was the first time I was recognizing energy, and feeling it and seeing it.
That's fantastic. And I wasn't even aware that was going on.
No, you were just focused on what you were doing.
Yeah. And so I think that's fantastic.
And I
But
think,
you've had
well, I
go
just
ahead.
wanted to add, I think the figure that was behind you ended up being the Teddy Roosevelt kind of guy that I see with you often.
And this is an interesting one too. Pete's been talking about this guy who he said his name is William and he looks like Teddy Roosevelt and he's a relative. And I couldn't for the life of me figure out who that could be on either side of the family. Well, we got a picture eventually of my mother's father's father and his siblings, all his adults, well into adulthood, and their parents, and oh, yeah, very old. And these are people that, some of these are people that came across on the Oregon Trail. And one of those people in there is named William, and he looks like Teddy Roosevelt. And when I finally saw that, I got a hold of Pete right away and let him know. I think I showed you the picture because it was just mind-boggling. I mean, and he was picking this up too from far away. You were remote viewing for people around me as well.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was at Hobos, and you were talking about a sea captain.
Oh, that's on the tour?
Yeah, I was waiting for the tour, and
That's right.
that's old Shanghai Tunnel type territory. But I can't remember what we'd said about the sea captain. That was quite a while ago.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was interesting.
Hmm.
Do you think with this whole Zoom era that we're in, that we've been in for a while, like I know it makes it easier to connect with people to do readings from wherever. Um, but do you think it makes it easier to remote view when you're working this way virtually versus over the phone? You know what I mean? Is there a difference?
For me, I think it's a little easier this way, although over the phone works as well, over the radio works. But I like to see the person, and so much of what I pick up on, I see kind of over the person's right shoulder.
Okay.
Um, and so I prefer to have the video when possible, but
Right.
it's not necessary.
But it does make it easier, I think.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
And, I like to make sure I give my clients the best I can.
Yeah. Do
So.
you look? I know this is your show. Sorry, I have questions.
That's okay. I love it.
So you mentioned seeing things over the right shoulder.
Uh-huh.
Is it always the right shoulder, or is it sometimes the left shoulder? Does it matter?
It's usually over the right shoulder, and it can vary and it can move then, but it usually starts pretty much there. And even if it's a scene of a past life or pretty much anything else, I mean, it's this eye, but it tends to be over that shoulder, or that's where my gaze goes.
Yeah, like
As a
that's where
focal point.
your field of view or something goes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
Do you have something like that?
I don't, it's both sides. If I do see somebody, but most of the time I'll see them in my mind
Mm-hmm.
and see what they look like. They'll show me things in my mind. But if I do feel like someone's in the room right there, I think I've seen them on both sides.
Okay. Yeah, in the room, I'll see wherever they're standing. But if it isn't, or if it's, no, I should take that back. If I'm looking at the ghosts that are in a house or a building,
Mm-hmm.
they'll show up wherever. But if I'm working with a client and it's somebody with the client, even then it's usually, when they pop into the room, it's usually on their right shoulder.
Right shoulder.
But not exclusively.
Yeah. So I guess it's just where your gaze goes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things I tell people. I apologize at the beginning, saying I'm not being rude when I'm not looking you in the eye, but that's where I see. So
yeah, that's a good disclaimer.
Yeah.
Gosh, that meeting was so rude. He just couldn't make eye contact.
Yeah. I'm making eye contact, but just not with you.
Yeah.
So
when people ask me about past life stuff, I usually send them your information.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you do that. So I have more questions about that.
Okay.
How does it come? Do you see things different from past life versus coming from a spirit guide or somebody with the person?
It's a good question. And I hadn't really thought about it. They're very similar because I'll see the scenes, usually is what's there.
Mm-hmm.
And the information gets to me often more as a film or a painting type, only it's realistic, it's, I should say, photograph or a film.
Okay.
And I also, sometimes there'll be a conversation with them or between whoever is there, what that scenario is, and sometimes with me. But a lot of times it's seeing it and knowing what I am seeing, if that makes any sense.
Like you know what you're feeling.
Right. Now, between lives, the setting and such is different. I guess it feels a little different because there's nothing really to reference it to, and I'm not seeing them on the windswept Salisbury Plains or the forest of North America in the year 1000 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's more with what they're doing, what kinds of things they're thinking there, what the conversations are, and it's very telepathic.
Okay.
And with, well, most of the communication is telepathic, with, be it ghosts in the house or people's relatives or friends or different kinds of beings. Sometimes it's just knowing, and sometimes any real conversation is telepathic.
Yeah.
So
I've heard mediums over the years talk about getting a download, quote unquote download.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's a little different for everybody. But I think that is a great term for it. After having experiences with that, it's like, yeah, it is kind of a download.
Well, how do you get it?
Well, if it's something like that coming in, it's one of those claircognizant. You just know.
Yeah.
And you don't know why you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you know.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, when that sort of stuff's going on, it's just kind of like, it's the thoughts that's popping into my head, and I just have to go with it.
Okay. Yeah.
It's different for everybody.
That's good. Yeah, it is. And, usually there's a combination of a few things going on, and it's not always the same. I think we as mediums, where we are in that particular moment of that particular day, has some effect on how we receive things. And,
Exactly.
And who we're talking to or who's reaching out to us, too, because they're all different.
Yeah.
And, well, that's part of why I don't have a textbook for my classes.
Right. I don't know if there is a textbook.
Well, I'm always leery when people present one, because for me, that's not the way it works. I mean, for others, I'm not going to say what's right or wrong or how it's working for others. I just know for me.
Yeah, I think there's basic principles that everyone can follow
Hmm.
in creating a process that works for you,
Yeah,
right? Clearing your mind, being there in the moment, being present, and being
yep,
open-minded, right? But from there, there's so many different ways you can do it.
right. And a few things too, like especially when you're learning, taking notes. How are you picking up? What's it feel like? Where in your brain is this coming? What? How does it chew, sort of, or the texture, any of that? And how does that vary from when you're imagining things? And what have you been able to confirm what you picked up?
Right, get the
And if you
validation.
did, right, and if are, how much have you been able to confirm? Things like this,
Right.
because then that helps build confidence, but it also helps people to know, okay, no, I've got 60% imagination here triggered by 40% psychic,
Right.
or something like that, or yeah, that's where my mind wants to go with this, but that's not reality. Okay, let's get back to reality. And
Right.
so it all helps, I think.
Yeah. It's about getting that validation and recognizing what you're feeling.
Yeah. And it takes time. You know, I mentioned Pete picking this up, in a short number of years, but he's worked his butt off at it too. It's not like he just sits around and ho hum, I'm a psychic now, so it just comes. You practice, you explore, you try different things. You do the groundwork.
Probably not as much as I should, but I do.
Yeah. And that's what people have to realize too, and do it. When I have workshops and classes too, I tell people, this isn't going to make you a professional psychic or a medium. This is part of the training. It's like everything else. Study, practice, explore.
Yep. It's the tools that go in your toolbox to find your own process.
Right. And if you don't do the work, you don't get the benefit.
Yeah.
What do you think the benefits are?
Of practicing
Medium.
or being a medium?
Yeah, mediumship.
Um, I think getting a deeper or higher level perspective on things, learning what is important, uh, you know, communicating with the other side, you get that behind the curtain look of what's really important, what
Hmm.
really matters in the long run. And so there's a benefit to knowing that.
Okay.
Um, I think you have more trust in yourself and more trust in just right, the energy around us. Um, I was on a show the other day with host Kelly Brickles, a show called The Psychic Hour, and she
Hmm.
started out by talking about how we're all connected with energy, anyways,
Right.
and that there's this interconnection, but it's not until we're conscious of it, we realize it, that then it can start to have a good change within yourself and working with other people. And so being able to work more with energy is a good benefit too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And being able to experience the world around us in another level, I think
Yes.
more completely. And for me, I like that.
Yeah. Helping somebody out is probably the best part, and probably one of the most important parts is when you can help somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do a reading and you get that validation, and you see the closure that this person gets with something, you've passed on something important that made their life better.
Right.
And that's what it's all about.
And I think that's a beautiful and very important part. Working with clients especially. But I like just sitting and seeing who wants to talk to me too. And to me, that's probably what I get the most. Well, that and reading the history or the pieces. I mean, I can't really explain how it feels to see scribes copying manuscripts or painting the hieroglyphs of the prayers of the dead on the tomb in Egypt, or sculpting or lugging
feeling
monster
the
stones. Yeah.
Like feeling it on a different level.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Experiencing that. And I feel like I get that too at historic sites or old places. I almost feel like I could be there. You did a past life reading for me many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the first things you talked about was that I was a Civil War soldier.
Okay.
And what clicked with me was I've had this weird obsession of the history of the Civil War since I was a kid. I've always loved learning about it, learning more about it. Ken Burns, when he put out the Civil War series, I thought that was so cool.
Right.
And so it kind of clicked with me from that sense that I know that when I read something or watch something about the Civil War and what life was like, I feel like I was there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I know. I can relate to that because I feel like I was there. And then when you said, well, you're a Civil War soldier, I thought, well, that's pretty interesting. That kind of clicked for me.
Good. Good. And I don't think I knew that about you at the time.
No.
Mm-mm.
And then you said I was like a high priest for the Aztec. You could see me like sacrificing people.
Okay. Which is so not who you are today.
No, but like again, those sort of civilizations and those time periods, and going back to older to the Egyptians, Druids, same thing. I feel like I was there.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah. Well, when did you have your first metaphysical, paranormal, whatever you want to call it, experience?
That's not like a psychic experience?
That too, or whatever.
Well, I often share the story about being 7 years old, driving through northern Arizona, where two older Native American men appeared in the highway in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
My grandpa hitting the brakes, and then when we got to them, they just vanished. They were just gone. And then he turned to me, and keep in mind, he was from a different generation, grew up in Oklahoma, so he turned to me and asked if I see the old Indians in the road. The old Indians in the road.
Mm-hmm.
And I said yes. And realizing that he saw it too was pretty crazy.
Uh-huh.
So that's like the earliest one I can remember.
That was the one I was thinking about. It's such a great story. I wanted you to put it out for people.
Yeah, that was crazy. Thinking back on it, like maybe my grandpa was a medium and didn't know it. I don't know. But we both
Could be.
saw it.
Yeah. And he could be, and it'd be interesting to know if that's a phenomena that others experienced from time to time in that area.
I would think it would be very possible.
Yeah. Because you don't have to be a medium or a psychic
Right.
to have, especially when you're looking at solid, right there, this realm world apparitions.
It has to have happened to many other people over the years.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a magical part of the world
Mm-hmm.
down there. It really is.
Yeah, it's well, and when you start getting down there too, Arizona's an interesting place. Um, just from an energy standpoint, and I haven't been there since I was in high school, other than Phoenix Airport.
Mm-hmm.
That was an interesting place, but for a whole different set of reasons, and not in a positive way. I don't like. I don't like Phoenix Airport. I mean, nothing bad. It just was.
Could have been all the
Anyway,
people in it.
I won't get into details, but it was an interesting piece to it. But
well, see, I would go to Sedona, and that's where my grandparents lived, and so I get to spend a lot of time there. And it's one of those like after discovering mediumship, thinking back into the realizing that I was having weird feelings and just didn't know what it was.
mm-hmm.
Didn't think much of it. But I do remember every time we drove through Jerome, old mining town there,
Mm-hmm.
I was super creeped out. Every time
Okay.
we drove by there, and then later on finding out there's a lot of reports of activity there.
Right.
And not in a good way in some places.
Well, I know the old Jerome Hotel is supposed to be very haunted.
Yeah. The town just creeped me out. The whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't wait to get past it.
Does it have mining tunnels underneath the town?
That I don't know.
I don't know either. I just thought, because that would be certainly a way to help spread that energy. But when you've got a Wild West town type thing and basically a mining town, you're going to have a little of everything everywhere.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely one of those towns that, especially if we were going by in the evening, and you could just see the lights amongst the red rocks as you're coming down. Beginning of a horror movie. That's what it was like for me. Like, we need to get out of here.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like the Red Rock country and the different places, but I'd sit and think about them as palaces and living in them. The formations and stuff. I mean, it's such beautiful countryside. But
yeah, there's just an energy to it. As a kid, I always thought it was so cool. If anybody listening out there remembers the Arizona Highways calendars that you can get at stores,
mm-hmm.
and I would spend summers down there, and a lot of times monsoon season would hit. And I was actually standing on my grandparents' porch and saw some very peculiar lightning happening during the storm. And then I saw that particular photo in that calendar for, I mean, I don't know how many years they had this photo in there, but it was like a two U-shaped lightning bolt.
That's fantastic.
over the red rocks, looking out way over the land.
Uh-huh.
And when I saw that, I was like, I was there. I saw that happen.
Excellent.
And I always thought that was so cool.
That really is. Well, I was always in Arizona in the summertime too, without air conditioning.
Yeah, my skin complexion down there does not go well in the summertime.
Okay. So, great. Do you have anything else that you want to put out there before we say goodnight to everybody
or good morning?
Or good morning? Yeah, depending on where they are.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot for having me on. Sorry about the echo. I don't know if it's on my end. But if you're in the area and you want to come see William and get a class from him, see his presentation, see presentations from some really great people in the paranormal field. Can't talk today. Go to portgamble.com, or you can go to portgambleparanormal.com and click on the conference tab, and you can get right to the Ghost Conference, November 10th through 12th. And if you're going to be in the area any other time, look me up, portgambleparanormal.com, and you can see all my upcoming tours and investigation dates.
Sounds good. And the town, even if you're just driving past in the afternoon, take a stroll, take a drive. It's a beautiful little place and some interesting shops and restaurants, nice people, and there are ghosts everywhere.
Yes, there are ghosts everywhere here.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, William.
You're welcome. Thank you, Pete. I really appreciate having you on.
All right, we'll talk to y'all soon. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.